Pay attention, Americans, because a few of us called it. Some Democratic leaders will blame their state's ruin on coronavirus and demand a massive bailout to cover the tracks of their years-long failed leadership. Don't let them fool you. Coronavirus didn't destroy their states. A government-imposed economic shutdown was just the convenient kill shot that came after years of bad policy and piss-poor leadership. But not only will they use this pandemic as an excuse, they will use it as an opportunity to move the country in the direction they've always wanted but couldn't effectively sell until now. I'll tell you all about it because it's time for Final Thoughts. And you know, I hate to keep taking it back to California, but I feel an obligation to warn the rest of the country. The California experiment will no doubt be tried in your state if it hasn't permeated there already. So let's take it back to before the pandemic. What did the Democrats want? Well, in varying degrees of honesty and transparency, they seem to want a pathway to socialism, a pathway they disguise as a progressive agenda. And what was that progressive agenda exactly? Well, it's gun control, it's radical climate change initiatives, it's encouraged or at the very least shielded illegal immigration. It's a dismantling of election integrity via vote by mail and other fraud-ridden initiatives like the motor voter program and ballot harvesting. It's limited rights and privacy and personal liberty. It's higher taxes, enhanced regulation, and of course their favorite, bigger government. But they couldn't sufficiently or elegantly market that agenda to the American people, though they certainly tried with Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and the rest of their band of misfit candidates. But the American people didn't buy it because we had a choice and we chose freedom. But this coronavirus pandemic, though brutal, devastating, and catastrophic, has provided the catalyst for leaders like Governor Greasy Gavin Newsom in California and others to usher in that agenda under our noses yet in plain sight. With this pandemic and the national alarm that came with it, the Democrats were able to force us into a trial run of their agenda with very little, if any, pushback. Think I'm kidding? Take a listen for yourself.
I'm wondering if you see the potential, as some others in your party do, for a new progressive era, if you want to call it that, in national politics and policy, and whether there's the opportunity for additionally progressive steps, such as the ones that I listed on the national and state level going forward, you know, because of this crisis.
Absolutely, we see this as an opportunity to reshape the way we do business and how we govern. And that shouldn't put shivers up the spines of, you know, one party or the other. I think it's an opportunity anew for both parties to come together and meet this moment and really start to think more systemically, not situationally, not just about getting out of this moment, but more sustainably and systemically to consider where we can go together this historic moment if we meet it at a national level and a state and subnational level. So answer is yes.
And yes, he may be the governor of California, but not all of these red flags are limited to crazy California. Just take a look at these headlines. And let me sum up all of those headlines for you in a few words. Bigger government, less freedom. And we've taken it on the chin for over a month now, quietly and compliantly. But as the pandemic begins to level off, will the restrictions, will the regulations, will the control and expanded authority of our leaders who now fancy themselves untouchable and almost godlike? And when the federal government, aka you, the taxpayer, steps in to fund these bailouts for already failing states like California, will you even realize you're doing it? Because like I said, states like California were in trouble long before coronavirus, but the longer they remain in economic lockdown, the faster they will fall, and the sooner their leaders will get the federal bailouts and pass it all off under the guise of coronavirus relief. Well, folks, I'll tell you what, the unfunded liabilities totaling in the trillions racked up over decades of Democratic politicians courting union fundraising support, yeah, those didn't come from this pandemic. But something tells me a big federal coronavirus relief bailout will help sweep years, if not decades, of failure under the rug. And Governor Newsom of California and leaders in states like New York, Illinois, and elsewhere will get to walk away scot-free. All the while you, your businesses, your communities struggle to get by in this infringement-ridden and government-imposed hellhole we've been living in for over a month and perhaps longer than necessary. Maybe, just maybe, your jobs and businesses are at stake so some politicians can cover their asses. Be cautious, stay healthy, and do your part, but don't be a sheep. Those are my final thoughts from Nashville. God bless. and take care.